Afternoon. Welcome to Tasty Tuesday with FCHS. I'm Daryl Minch. I'm the Family and Community Health Sciences educator here in Somerset County. So today we're going to talk about cooking spring greens. Spring greens are great. Swiss chard is in the market now. Dandelion greens. All the greens are interchangeable. Naturally, the phone's ringing, so let's take that off. Okay. Sorry about that. Today we're going to use kale because I believe in using whatever we have on the have in our house today, and I happen to have some kale still left. This is La Hacienda kale, sometimes called dinosaur kale. It's very dark and curly. It's almost this beautiful blue-green, and it has lots of deep ridges and ruffles. So kale is one of those greens that's actually more of a fall green. It grows best in cooler weather, and kale, lots of good vitamins. Swiss chard, which is in the market now, is a little flatter. It comes in green, and it comes in a beautiful colors of yellows and reds. It's called rainbow chard. And when I have the choice, I use rainbow chard only because it's really pretty. So for the kale, what we're going to do is you're going to wash it really well because it has all these ridges where dirt can hide. So I like to use a sprayer. I've already washed this. And in the case of kale, that middle rib is kind of tough. So usually we remove that piece. I'm going to throw that in the compost. If the leaves are young and tender, you may not need to do that. I've already washed the kale, and then I'm going to do that for this one as well. And we're doing some braised greens. So you have the recipe on the text here, and let me know where you're from. So what you need is a bunch of greens. A bunch of Swiss chard will serve 4 people easily. Beet tops are another green that are available. Kale, it's over 2,000 years old for kale. It's in the cabbage family. So what I like to do is stack the kale up into a nice bunch, and we're going to slice it into ribbons about 1 inch wide. They do cook down. If you think the leaves are really wide, you want to cut them down the middle first, that's fine. Sometimes I'll stack the leaves up and I roll them. So stack them up a couple at a time, again with the Swiss chard, and just roll them into like a jelly roll, and that makes cutting it easier. So we're going to use a sharp knife, and I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut into ribbons. Be careful not to cut your fingers. Keep your fingers back from the knife. Doesn't have to be precise. You want to have it nice and even. So it makes it easier to cook. If I was doing Swiss chard, you don't need to remove that center rib. It's usually not as tough. It's more celery-like. Sometimes I'll separate the rib part from the leaves because the rib part might need to cook a little bit longer in the case of Swiss chard, so I'm going to saute that first. I'm going to put the greens in the side. I'm just going to show you another technique after. So I'm saving half a cup of the greens, the kale greens here for another use, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So if you want, you don't have to cut the greens. You could just tear them into pieces. So today we're going to use an induction cooktop because it's easier for me to film. Induction cooktops, this is one here, use a magnetic energy to heat pans that a magnet will stick to. They're called ferrous. I'm using a cast iron skillet because it's the only thing I have in my house that has enough metal in it to work on an induction cooktop. So sometimes you have things, a cast iron works well, or anything that's steel, has a lot of steel in it, but copper, aluminum pans won't work on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some garlic, and I should cut my cutting board. So we're going to smash this up the garlic to get the paper off. I'm just going to cut off the root end. Now we're going to put it into my garlic press, and I'm going to use 2 cloves of garlic. This is purely up to you. If you like a lot of garlic or a little bit of garlic, your choice. I'm putting it into the cold pan. And I am going to use 2 cloves of garlic. Up till probably a year ago, my husband would never eat greens. So then I started making it this way, lots of garlic, and now he loves them. So, you know, trying different greens with your families is really important. He likes the Swiss chard. So we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. So when you buy olive oil, you want to look for a dark bottle. The light degrades the oil, so you want to find something that's dark and keep it in a cabinet rather than on your countertop. It doesn't matter if it's glass or plastic. Look for a good quality olive oil. Olive oil has shown some health benefits when it's in the context of a Mediterranean style diet with lots of vegetables, uses very little meat type protein foods. So in that context, olive oil has some polyphenols and some other compounds that are really good. If you look for high quality olive oil, you want to look for one that has what we call throat burn. So the throat burn means that when you swallow it, it kind of gives you that tingly feeling in the back of your throat. It has more of the healthy compounds to it. Look for extra virgin olive oil, which means it's the first pressing of the olive, so it has the most benefit and the most flavor. Any olive oil that's labeled light, it really refers to the color and the taste. It's not lighter than calories. They're all the same. So what we're going to do here is I have the pan on low, and I'm just going to start my garlic a little bit up here to get it start to soften. Cast iron cookware is really easy to use. It's the original non-stick cookware. If it's a well-seasoned pan, used a lot, it has a natural non-stick coating, and you don't have to worry about things sticking. Doesn't need a lot of scrubbing. In fact, you don't want to use too much soap because it takes away some of that oil coating, and that's part of the beauty of the pan. All right, so we're heating this up. I'm just going to get the oil to saute, simmer just a little bit. Depending on how much greens you have, you may want to add a little bit more oil, but always start with a small amount, and usually a tablespoon is plenty. Sometimes you need two, but you'll kind of learn to judge on this one. If greens are a little bit tougher and you want to speed the cooking, sometimes what I've done is I take and put a little water in this dish, in a microwave-safe dish, put a lid on it, and I'll microwave it for a minute or two, and that really softens the greens, and then I can finish sauteing them. If you're a person who finds greens a little bitter, and that's common amongst many of the greens, you can put your greens into a pot of boiling water, again, for just a minute or two, drain them, and then finish cooking them. That blanching in the boiling water takes away some of the bitterness that some people see. All right, so we're going to toss in our greens. We're going to add a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. I'm going to add just a little bit of red pepper flakes. And if you don't like spicy, you don't have to do that. I'm going to add a little non-salt seasoning mix. There's no salt in it, with some garlic and herbs. And that's an optional thing. And you're going to stir the greens to coat them in the oil. And how long this takes, they take anywhere from 5 minutes or so, a little bit more, depending on the type of the greens. Swiss chard cooks faster than the kale because it's a much more delicate green. Spinach would also probably be pretty short cooking time, and that's another early crop in the season. If you want to get this to soften even a little bit more, sometimes I'll add 1 tablespoon of water, and I'll put a lid on this. So we're going to let that saute just a few minutes. Greens are really good for us. They have lots of vitamins. They're high in vitamin A, C, the carotenoids, which gives foods that red, that yellow, those bright colors that you may not see because it's green, but they're there. folate and vitamin K. If you are on a blood thinner, vitamin K can interact with some of the blood thinners. So if you're on a blood thinner, talk to your healthcare provider about eating greens and how much you can eat and whether you can eat them or not. Vitamin K helps with blood clotting and helps with calcium absorption. So as long as it's not a drug interaction for you, then it's a really good, helpful food to have in your diet. Greens are low in calories unless you do something to them, like add too much oil to them. They are, all your dark green leafy vegetables are probable for helping reduce your risk for some kinds of cancers, such as cancer of the mouth, the pharynx, and the larynx. And interestingly enough, there have been a number of studies about living longer, healthy lives, longevity. And several of those studies have included greens. They're very common in cultures that have a history of long life. You can see these are starting to soften up pretty well. And again, you watch it. If you think you need a little bit more moisture in there, just add another tablespoon or so of water. Let those steam just a little bit more. The USDA's Choose My Plate wants 1/4 or more of our plate to be vegetables every day. And if we can choose our 1.5 to 2 cups a week for adults and teens of dark green leafy vegetables, that'd be really good. So eat lots of greens, they're good for your health. One study out of Chicago, Rush University in Chicago said that eating 1 serving of greens a day increased your brain health over time. So that was part of their diet recommendations as well. While that's simmering, I want to show you another thing you can do with spring greens. Any kinds of greens will work, but we're going to use the kale, and it's called a massage salad. So on a small scale, you're going to dump in about 1/2 teaspoon of greens. I'm using a plastic bag. Your kids would enjoy doing this in a bowl. You're going to wash their hands first well. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of vinegar. And rather than cooking greens like kale, which is a little bit one of the tougher greens, we're going to massage it. And you can imagine why kids would find this lots of fun. So I'm using a plastic bag here, so it's kind of like to go. And I'm really just rubbing them around to bruise the leaves, softens them up, makes them easier to chew. It's called a massage kale salad. Again, lots of fun for kids. You can add little seasonings if you want. You can do it in a bowl. I'm going to dump it in a bowl for you in a moment. I want to stir these. Smells so good. All right, these are just about done. If you wanted to, you could also saute some onions with these. Almost done. So my massage kale salad. Bowl here. Dump it into a bowl. And I'm going to sprinkle it again with some garlic and herbs, no salt. And we have some massage kale salad here, and it's really good. So, good. And if you wanted to add some chopped carrots or some other vegetables, you could. All right, I think our greens are done. I'm going to take this off the stove. If you wanted to add a little topping, you could add some seeds. I've used sunflower seeds. Some people like to add some dried cranberries or raisins when they're cooking these greens because it gives a little sweetness. Again, you don't need much. A tablespoon or so for a whole bunch is plenty. That is your greens. If you like a lot of vinegar, you can always add some more vinegar. But again, you can use this with Swiss chard, spinach, kale. Delicious. So I hope you'll enjoy some spring greens. Try to make them in your diet several times a week. Again, great way to enjoy all those nice things out there. Go try some of the rainbow chard because it's actually beautiful. And have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.
Okay.